Hey everyone, sorry this episode is a little late. I started college again for this semester, and it's just having a hard time trying to figure out what works best with my school schedule and the show and working in the school paper as a comic artist. And it's just a whole lot of stuff. I gotta manage my time and set the course and schedule and everything and try figuring out what is best. So this episode may be a little bit short compared to the others, but I'll try doing my best and upload when I can. But let's get this episode started. In this industry, there are many different ways to create comics, and today we'll dive into the topic of the supplies people use to create their comics. Hopefully, this can help some of you with figuring out what supplies and tools you'll need to learn our trade. Now, a good rule of thumb to remember is if you can use it to draw, it's good for comics. But that's not always the case, and some artists use different tools and coloring supplies and other skills that they learn throughout their career in their comics. So, what I'm going to talk about today is pretty much the basics of the basics, and then I'll give some examples of what artists have used to add that little pop using certain supplies that typical drawing methods aren't used with. Before we talk about anything, we have to talk about the basic supplies, and that includes sketch paper, drawing paper, pencils, anything you can really think that could like help you formulate your idea for your comics. And after you get the sketches done and all that, and I'll talk about this in another episode about the process of making a comic. But you need all these basic supplies so you can take care of everything you want to do and keep your ideas so you have them for later when you start working on the comic. But no matter what you do, you need the graphite pencils. They're always a good thing to have. They help with sketching and the soft layout of your comics. Let's say you have a sketch and you like it, so you want to put it in your comic. Well, all you have to do is just redraw it or just trace it if you don't want to actually redraw the whole thing, and just put it in how you're going to have the soft layout of your comic, and then use whatever media you want to use and go over it. If you want to stay strictly in graphite pencil, I recommend you get a set. Um, you get any kind of set, any brand, but typically a good set will have a scale of graphite pencils anywhere from 6B to 6H. So you could draw anything you want and keep the grayscale shading you like. If you want to add some color to it, get some colored pencils that blend together easily. Prismacolor are a good set of pencils for beginners to use. They blend real easy, they're nice and soft, but be careful because they are very hard to erase once you put it on the paper. Now, some illustrators like to use ink to draw their comics. I'm personally one of them. A good set of pens, they can be felt tip, like micron pens, or they could be a calligraphy cartoonist pens that you dip in black ink, typically India ink because it's waterproof. If you want to add color to that, you can use markers. Generally, they're what that was used. You could use Sharpie watercolor markers, Copic Prismacolor markers. The whole spectrum of like what you can use marker wise is very big, very massive, and it all depends on what you would like to use. It's a trial and error pretty much, and you have to see what you like and what looks good to you. Some artists, like Bill Watterson, have used watercolors, and this gives a comic an extra pop if used correctly. It gives it a nice kind of like painting esque look to the comic, and it's really cool. I recommend you go out and read any of the Calvin Hobbes series because he uses watercolors a lot in that actual comic book series, and it was really good. But I'm getting off track, so bear with me, I'll come right back around. Now, some comic illustrators or even mangakas in Japan will use tone screen sheets. These sheets are adhesive on the one side. They give these tones, effects, textures to the comic that sometimes are really hard to get if you don't know the actual old school techniques. They're semi translucent, you can buy them online, and all you have to do is just cut them out and put it to the image that you want. Let's say you can't afford or have the money to constantly go out and re-spend or replace these supplies as they keep getting worn down or broken. Because let's be honest, art supplies are very expensive and they add up over time. Well, what you could do is you can buy an art tablet, hook it up to your computer, and use either Manga Studio or Photoshop. Because both these programs are actually being used by graphic illustrators professionally, and sometimes they're really good. I can't really vouch for Photoshop because there's still a lot of stuff I'm learning with Photoshop, but Manga Studio has everything and anything for manga artists. You want to color something with watercolor? Manga Studio has that file. You want to do some tone screens like an actual manga artist will do? Manga Studio has it. And I might do a review of Manga Studio later down the road, but that'll be another episode. So, we've touched base on the basic supplies of what you can use for a comic. Now I want to talk about the unusual supplies that you can use to make a comic, or just even for you to think about using in some of your comics. One thing people don't think about is collage. I mean, take the Very Hungry Caterpillar. Every image in that book is created using collage. All the scenes where the caterpillar is climbing up, eating things, it's all made in collage. Well, why can't comics be done using the same thing? There's actually a web comic out there that is pushing the boundaries on this actual idea. Pigment by Lee Brown on Webtoons used cardboard for the comic, and it looks really awesome and very unique. I've never seen a comic done using cardboard and other materials that like this. I mean, it's drawn right on the cardboard, but it's cut out, it's layered. It's really cool. I even used unique materials in my own comics. For a college project, I had to hand make a comic book pretty much. It was hardback. I bounded the entire thing. I used bristol paper, poster board, thread, glue, ink, watercolor, cardboard, graphite. I even found some fabric that I used to make the outside of the book just laying around my house, and it came out great, and I've actually been praised by art professors and students at my school. So, no matter what supplies you use, just practice with it. Find a style or a supply or something that you really like using and use it for your comic books. Ultimately, the what you can use for supplies is limitless. And don't let anyone tell you that, this supply or you can't use this because it's not good. Try it out. Make your own opinions. Well, that's all the time we have this week. Sorry about it for being late. I'll try getting another episode this weekend for you guys. So yeah, that's it. See you guys next week.